name is Drew. I am the head of product and AI at Tessl. For those of you who don't know, Tessl is an agent enablement platform. We recently launched sort of publicly to everybody, so you can try it now. Everything's free of charge. Just go sign up. Very quickly, I'll tell you what it is, and then the whole demo is going to be me showing how we use Tessl. So when we say agent enablement platform, what does that really mean? Probably the simplest way you can think of it is a tool to do context engineering at scale in a team, in an organization, across a community. And so the idea behind this is the core thing that we're building is a registry for context. So you can think of this as like, in its most reductive sense, NPM for markdown files, right? So it's a way of the things we want to help you with is creating context, right? So a lot of times we find when people want to start using agents, they find there's this 5 to 10 year backlog of information about their organizational setting, right? Like style guides, security policies, documentation on the APIs and tools that are like internal to the team. All these things that agents don't know about, they can't know about because it's your internal information. There's also things like, oh, we use this old version of some open source dependency that hasn't been mainlined for 6 years. The agent's been trained on the later versions. They're always making mistakes, right? Like your stack, basically. And so the first thing that Tessl wants to do is help you onboard all of that knowledge into a sort of agent-friendly format. We have ambitions, obviously, to be like everything. Like you could connect your Notion, you could connect Google Docs, you could look through historical PRs and we'll figure out what your style guide is based on frequent comments that you give. That's obviously like the direction we're going over time. Right now, this creation experience is focused on platform, framework, like internal APIs that you might own. We will help you create documentation for it. So say you've got a library everybody uses at your company. You'll hook up your GitHub, we'll generate documentation for it, and then we can help you keep it up to date as you update the library itself with new PRs. On top of that then, so that's the creation process. So you now have this markdown, this context that's supposed to make agents more effective. Does it? Like, does it actually help? And so the sort of next pillar that Tessl is building out is a way to evaluate context that you've written specifically for your use case, right? So the idea that you have a library, you have people internally, maybe externally, right? Like maybe you have an SDK that other people are using publicly. You want to know, does Cursor use it better than Claude? Does Codex like fail on this particular API? So we help you generate coding challenges essentially related to using your library. And then we have harnesses where we can run all of the agents through it, and we can report to you, these are the parts of your library that aren't working well. These are the parts that are working well. Here's how much better it gets when you add this context, or if you create a new version of the context, we can tell you, like, did you see a performance improvement or not? So that's the evaluation. Now, ideally, you say, OK, I've created this context. It works. I want to roll it out. And so distribution, which is something I'm going to show here today, that's sort of the core thing in the product that's ready for prime time, ready for everybody to use. That is the part that's like a registry, right? So you have a way to publish your documentation and then install it into projects and repositories. You have all the sort of versioning you'd come to expect with a registry. I can explain why that's cool and valuable. And then once you distribute, you also have ways to sort of monitor and say, OK, who has adopted it, who hasn't? Like, have people adopted the latest version? You can do like a dependabot style, sort of add the knowledge to people's downstream libraries. They can just accept a PR and be off and running. And then the final pillar, optimization. This is like once you've deployed it, it's in the wild. We want to help you understand through your agent logs and things like that, where are people hitting problems? And then automatically sort of have a feedback loop where we're fixing and improving the context, or maybe even suggesting new context to make agents more effective and give you insight into where are people failing with agents today. That's kind of the Tessl platform. Like I said, a lot of that is future vision. If you're interested and excited, we're looking for design partners, early access, so please get in touch if you want to help sort of build out the full vision. But today, I will show you all what exists in the product that you could go download and try today. So, OK, without further ado, I'm going to be building a to-do app that just runs on the CLI. It's just a simple example to show a lot of the things I mentioned. I'm going to kick something off because I am taunting the demo gods today. I am both doing everything live. I am also running on our basically tip of tree, which is already auto-updated 4 times today. So hopefully everything works. Please have forbearance. But I always find these demos much more fun if they are real. So to start off, I'm going to start in this empty to-do CLI. You can see here I have nothing except for an environment variable that has keys for OpenAI that I will not open because I don't want you all to see them. And then also a git ignore, but otherwise empty. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to run, let's see, I'm going to run Tessl install, and then I'm actually going to install, I can. Is this better for folks? Is this better? OK. So this is Tessl Engineering's internal style guide for Python. So I mentioned you have library documentation, but you can really do anything that you would pass as context to an agent. You can publish it to the Tessl registry. So our core use case is library teams, but it sort of works for anything. So you'll see here, I'm going to install the Python style guide, and you'll see a few things have happened as I've done this. First is that we have gone ahead and set up, it says I'm authenticated, we've set up some integrations with agents that we can already detect that you're using. So in this case, I'm a big Cursor and Claude Code user. So we've created an agents MD, we've created a Claude MD, and then we've also set up an MCP. This MCP, all it does is set up so that Tessl can be run. And then, in addition to the MCP, we've added this Tessl JSON. So you'll see here, and this is like one of the first key concepts, we believe that context that you're using in your repository should, as it moves closer and closer to code, start to have a life cycle that looks more and more like code, right? So the idea being here, this is my style guide for Python. It's version 0.2. If somebody comes in and says like, oh, major revamp, we've changed the way we're doing Python, I'm bumping the version to 1.0 or 0.1, I don't want to come in on a Monday morning and be like, oh, I thought I was going to ship features, but I guess today I'm migrating everything to the new style guide so that my context will stop complaining at me. So I just won't bump the version yet, right? It gives you that control so that you can stay pinned to the knowledge that you have been building for. But it also gives somebody on the other side visibility into, OK, who has updated or not updated to version 0.1, right? And maybe this one is in maintenance mode, so we just don't think it's worth the effort, so we'll leave it pinned to 0.0. But we have the ability, we have that control. And you'll see as we get into libraries and packages where this is like especially powerful, but we think that this is like a thing that you should be doing with a lot of your context, is explicitly declaring it as dependencies, being able to control and version it as you work. And so then you'll see also within this .tessl folder, we've installed our first couple tiles. So a tile is just a Tessl package. It's like a Ruby gem or a Rust crate. Everybody has to have a name for their thing, so ours is a tile. It has no meaning other than a Tessl package. So if you look in here, I just installed the Python package, and you can see it's markdown files, right? There's nothing special about it. It's just context that you want for your agent. In this case, I've set up some things like, oh, I want you to use UV as the package manager. If I come in here for project setup, very standard. I've said things like, I don't know if you all have seen this, but agents love to write package manifests themselves instead of using the tool to create them. They just hallucinate dependencies and then install them. So I've said, like, you can't do that. You must use UV, right? Like, this is all just sort of standard stuff. I do this in every Python project, so now I have a way of sort of making that uniform everywhere I go. I'm just going to move this over here. So I've just installed that. That's all I've done. And now I'm going to go over to, I have some prompts pre-written, just so that I don't have to type them. But I'll move over. So in this case, all I'm doing, I'm creating a CLI app. I'm asking it to use my standard Python setup, so that thing I just installed. It's going to have 2 commands: to do add task, adds a to-do to like a global SQLite database. And then to do list will show all of the commands with arrow key navigation. And then I ask it to use Typer and Prompt Toolkit to manage the CLI itself. So I'll go ahead, oh God, why did it go into plan mode? Ask before edits, run. Okay, so as this is running, I'll sort of vamp a bit on the next steps, but before I go, I'm just gonna try and cover the time it runs. Any questions, just to start off? Anything folks want to ask about? What's up?
Right, so at this point, the context version is sort of the conventions of Python that you use?
Yes.
That's all about?
Yes, yeah.
And it knew there to prefer UV versus, like, say, create your own manual virtual environment or whatever.
Right.
That is what that is.
Yes, so that tile that I installed, that Tessl eng/Python, is where we've said things like UV is the package manager of choice, use pyenv to set your dependencies, install dependencies a certain way. You'll probably notice, oh God, good, I'm glad you can tell it's fresh because none of the permissions are accepted. So you'll see here it is sort of following these things. It's using UV add. One thing that I didn't show in here, and we'll see if it follows along, it's creating the database schema. Let's see if we can find it. Yeah, so it's checking the project setup, it's reading Tessl.json to see what might be installed, and then it is running UV init, sort of going through the request that I made. We'll see here that it's adding typer and prompt toolkit. Those were the commands that I asked for. So next up, while this is running, yes, don't ask again, I can go in here and I can say Tessl search typer. So in this case, the next part I talked about, you have your private repos, but then you also might have a public repository or public dependency that you're using, in this case, typer. And so I can look through here and say, okay, there's typer CLI. I want typer, so I'll install that. That adds documentation for my agent to use. I can do the same thing, Tessl install prompt toolkit. And so in this case, not Tessl install, Tessl search. In this case, Tessl has gone out and created prompt toolkit, documentation for 10,000 open source libraries that you can just use sort of versioned appropriately. If there's a version you want to use or a library you want to use that we don't have, there's a request form, we can sort of get that created for you. So in this case, I will assume it used the latest. I'll just go ahead and do that. So I've added this documentation. It is now working, so we'll see if it actually succeeded. This is always the fun part. But this is like a good example of you can install best practices, things that you just want to use in every project. You can also install your dependencies. If you have an existing project, when you run Tessl init, we will scan your package.json or your whatever package manifest, depending on your language, and we will automatically search and recommend installing any open source tiles that we have. So it's a great way to bootstrap if you already have an existing project. So it claims it's gone ahead and done the thing. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, does it work with monolith repos? That scan?
Yeah.
I ran it yesterday and installed it and it didn't pick up my happened to be two folders.
That's a great question. I think that kind of like deeply nested, what we would recommend is navigate to each folder to run the sync. In theory, there shouldn't be anything about a monorepo that stops it from working, but I don't think we necessarily can discover at any location multiple package JSONs. If you want to catch me afterwards, we can maybe talk a little bit more about the use case. Though I think there's an interesting thing of, we don't necessarily have great support yet for if you've got a consumer library with many languages in it that all have, like you can have one Tessl JSON that just lists all of it. There'll be a little bit of a bleed though where when the agent searches, it'll be searching across documentation for all the languages. That's something we'd love to add support for, like a cleaner differentiation.
Any more questions or? Okay, go.
Okay, so it claims to me that I can run uv run to do, add, write, let's say give awesome demo. So let's see if it works. All right, so it says it has worked, and then if I go ahead and do uv run to do list, Oh my God, I love when a demo works. So there's keyboard navigation. I think these were some that it added while it was testing its solution. I can hit enter to toggle something is done, and then I can escape to exit. Awesome, so it worked. You'll notice here that there are no due dates. Everything I guess is always urgent, is always happening. I'd love to add a natural language due date extraction field, so I can just type like, do this tomorrow, or do this some other time. So I have a library for that somewhere. This is called NL Dates. This is just a little library I put together. All this does is take in a string that is assumed to contain a natural language date string, and it returns a date that you can use in your code. And you'll notice here that in this library, I've written some documentation. So when I say I wrote it, I asked Claude Code to write it, right? Like, this is also a thing that Tessl can generate for you, but what I wanted to emphasize here is you don't have to. This isn't like a proprietary secret thing that Tessl creates. It's just markdown files. If you already have some that exist, you're welcome to start from there. We can also help you create it. You can edit it afterwards, like very open, very flexible. So I have some documentation here on how do you install this, because I didn't want to publish it to PyPy, so it's just on my GitHub. How do you need to create, and I can get things set up. The only thing that's special here is a tile.json, and you can think of this as the manifest that you're going to use to publish to the registry. So in this case, it's version 0.0.4. I've said that this documentation is describing this version of the library. So this is just a standard package URL. Has the version string at the end. And then I give it a link to like where's the entry point to the documentation. This could be named anything. It doesn't have to be index.md. You could name it foo.md, and that would be fine. This will, when I run Tessl tile publish docs, I'm not going to do it because I've already done it. But you'll notice here, docs is just the name of the folder it's in, right, that contains the tile JSON. It's all very flexible. You can sort of do what you'd like. Once I publish this, though, now first I will show you, this is the Tessl registry. So you can see here, this hopefully looks very familiar, right? Like npm, PyPy. It's just a place you can see things. In this case, this is a private tile. So this is the library I'm not asking other people to use. I just want to use it personally. You can see we've published it here. It's just a markdown file. So now I can go over to my to-do CLI, and I can do Tessl. I'll just do search so you can see it. So I'll do Tessl search, and then Dru Fall is my personal account, and then NL dates. So this is funny. There is a version 1.2.4 because somebody took my demo machine back in the other room and published a random version. So there's no actual 1.2.4, but there is a 0.0.4. I can go ahead and install this. It's going to bring it in. You'll see, OK, now there's a new tile, index.md with a tile JSON. A couple things, like we put these files in your repository because we wanted it to be, first, a level of redundancy. If there's ever a moment when like Tessl is down, we don't want you to lose the docs so that you can keep writing code. So your agent can always grep over the file base. It also lets you build tools on top of the documentation if you'd like. But the main way we would recommend using it is we also have installed an MCP server that it's a bit faster, it's a bit more accurate, so it's a better way to find it. But what we found is to make these things really reliable, it's good to have many layers of redundancy and fail-safe. So just giving it many ways to find the context it needs just leads to a higher success rate. So I have installed the documentation on my private library. So this is something, unless OpenAI is training on my personal GitHub today, it knows nothing about. So I'll come over here, and the next thing we're going to ask for is check the docs for NL dates and see how to install it. Because like I said, it's pulling it not from PyPy. It's actually just pulling it from a Git URL. And then I wanted to add support for pulling out natural language descriptions. And it needs to make sure to add a due date. So in this case, I'm being a little more prescriptive of like check the docs and stuff. You don't actually have to do this. We've added steering into agentsmd to get it to call, but just to try and tame the demo gods a little bit, I'm being more prescriptive. And you can always say something like use Tessl, and you'll get like near 100% activation. But we try to make it a little simpler and more ergonomic, so you shouldn't have to write that. but I only temp fate so much. So this is going. While this is running, maybe I'll pause again if folks have any questions on what I've just shown.
So the steering is just limited to dispatch to Tessl. As you add components, it does. As you add more tiles, it doesn't require any updates to the agents or Claude or whatever. It's just if you add a new, like codex or whatever the next one is, you would just add another whatever .md.
That's right. That's right. So whenever, and this is a thing that we've tried to do, is make it on the consumption side really, really seamless. Like you don't have to do anything. So ideally, somebody might, like the equivalent of npm install, they might add the knowledge, but then everybody in the repo, just gets it, right? They have access to the MCP server as long as they've installed Tessl. You don't have to like keep resyncing your dependencies or anything like that. If I show you here what agents MD looks like, so this was auto-populated when I ran Tessl init. All it does is it points to this Tessl rules.md, which has, so when you have a tile, there's basically two kinds of context you can add. There is documentation. This is passive things that the agent has to ask for, right? So it'll go through the MCP or it can grep through the files. And then we have rules, which are similar to like a cursor rules or something you might put in your Claude MD, which are proactively registered that say like you must do a certain thing a certain way. So in this case, we have you'll see like my Python rules are here. They're imported into agentsmd. And if you like keep following these links, you'll see, okay, we get all the way in, and it is just that tile that I showed you all, right? Like here is my best practices for running Python. I want it to always see that. So that has been installed. You might get more and more of those as you add tiles, but it's all handled automatically. Okay, so with that in mind, any other questions before I keep going? Okay. So let's see, how's it doing? All right, it is perfect. The migration worked, supposedly. Claude also says I'm absolutely right all of the time, and that can't be true, so.
So that's still spinning. One question, the relationship between the models actually following these, right?
Yeah.
So what's the gut feel? Do you have like a limited amount of models that are likely to succeed and actually do what they're told here?
Yeah.
Or like how does it go?
It's a great question, and this is my most rigorous answer to this is like this is where those evals that I talked about come in. So this is a feature we're actively building right now. It should be available quite soon. When you upload context to Tessl, we'll optionally allow you to create evaluation scenarios, and we can run them against all the most popular agents to give you sort of like hard numbers against that information. And then just like the documentation that we've created, the evaluation scenarios are like coding tasks that we're going to run plus grading criteria that we're going to check. That's all still files that you can pull into your repo that you can edit, you can sort of build on, you can add more, and then push back and continue to like get the evaluation results. And so my real answer would say take your context, evaluate it, and then go from there. Now my gut feel from what we see internally, most agents are pretty good, right? Like Cursor, Claude Code, Codex are all, you're going to get pretty good results. In our testing, Claude Code comes out usually to be the most respectful of whatever context you've given it. Cursor can be a little more ornery. It likes to not call tools and maybe needs a little more explicit prodding, but nothing serious, right? Like you'll get pretty good results. I'd say 80% plus on most things if it's sort of clearly stated and not a lot of conflicting requirements. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm driving from this is that you're sort of doing like a agentic evaluation because you're answering more about like the agent that's in use than the models they're using underneath of it. Sounds like, right, as the abstraction
right.
for the
a little
eval.
of both.
Yeah.
So when we run our evals, we can run them against different agent harnesses and against different underlying foundation models. So you could be like Claude Code using 4.5 versus 4.1, or Cursor using OpenAI versus Anthropic models. So you can do all of that. Yeah. Okay, so it says it's done, so let's go ahead and check it. So I now should be able to add natural language to my thing. So I say uv run to do add finish the demo before Saturday. Oh, and added a task. That was suspiciously fast. Let's see. UV run to do list. Finish report. Let's see. Finish the demo before Saturday. That doesn't look good. There's no to-do date there, so let's go ahead. This is the live part. I will just say I ran a command and don't see due date extracted. See what it says. Okay, so as that's running, I will start to prepare the next part, which is, okay. Well, now it's working. Well, we'll see. While it figures that out, one thing you may have noticed, right, like it will pull out a date, but two problems. The first is that it doesn't strip the date knowledge out of the task itself, right? Like my task is now do a thing by tomorrow. Oh, I think I see. I see, okay. Are you using dates to process the... Okay. It doesn't pull out that task string. It also will assign a date for everything, right? So even if you just say buy groceries, it'll put a date on it because it is, okay, yeah, this is great. You can see it. It's like, how do I use these things as it goes? But if I come back over to my NL dates library, I'm realizing I want to change how it works, right? Like I want to say, instead of calculating a date from a string, I want it to extract the date from the string. So take out all of the date-related words and then return a date plus the rewritten task, and then optionally return none if there's no date. So I have a prompt written for that. So it's going to do a few things, and I haven't tested this one. We're going into uncharted territory because I had the idea for this right before the session. So it's going to replace calculate date with extract date, and then it's going to give a rewritten task, an extracted date, and then what I'm going to do is ask it to update the docs, bump the version of the library, and bump the version in the tile JSON, right? So, God help me. And then, let's see if this has figured it out. Oh. What this is going to do is obviously it's going to add that feature. It's a breaking change to the library. I want to publish the new docs in the new library, but I don't want it to break my existing library until I update. So this is a great example where when you publish it, you publish a different version. And then when you say upgrade to NL dates version 0.2, you can run Tessl sync to sort of install, oh, we've detected you've moved up a version, so we'll also pull the new tile version in. So it gives you control over that. We've tried to design it so it's easy to do in CI. So for example, you could have a CI hook in your library that says, hey, anytime you merge to main, check if the docs have changed, bump the version, and republish. So it's very easy to make this just a seamless part of your publishing flow. I won't do that here. That was a little beyond the realm of a quick demo. See if this is working. We can also, this is the most fun part for me of doing vibe coding. It's like having multiple sessions and feeling like I have this swarm of developers behind me. Okay, it's updating. We'll see how that works. It is also updating here. That looked delightfully slow, so I think it is now using the LLM as this is finishing up. Any questions on what I just showed? Go ahead.
So like one of the MCP tool calls that I did earlier, where it was like searching for the docs.
Yes, yeah.
So you mentioned like the redundancy earlier, but is there a way to tell like if it's using the local markdown versus searching on the
Great question. So the search itself, if it calls the MCP tool, that is running locally. And then we are probably going to add support to just run everything in the cloud if you just want to have access to like more parallelism and stuff like that. But it's all running locally currently. It will, you can think of those files on the disk almost like a cache where it pulls it down so you're not making network hops as you're running. And then if it doesn't call the MCP tool, that's when you know it's just like grepping on its own and looking for things. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's see if this worked. So UV run to do add finish demo before Sunday. And see, okay, nice and slow, nice and slow. 11:23, I think that's right. Seems right. UV run to do list. Oh wow, it even added a new, hasn't done that before, giving me a nice do in 6 days instead of just do on a certain day. So that's great. It extracted finish report. Oh, this is interesting. How is it? Oh, it looks like, oh, that's so funny. It implemented the feature I wanted on top of NL dates. That's a good thing. The feature works. So what I will go ahead and do is I'll let this finish, and then I'll ask it to migrate that code to use the new NL dates version. That's nice. This is actually a good example of why it's good to have documentation, because I'm sure you all have known or have noticed agents love to re-implement things, especially if they're simple enough that it can do it. So I will go ahead. We'll watch this as it's finishing. I'll open up questions again if anybody has them.
I think we're finishing off.
We're finishing off?
Yeah.
Okay. I will very quickly then just show you all the way this would work. So if I bring this up, I would say, if I go into the docs, I go into the tile JSON. So if we look here, if I wanted to publish a new version, I would say, okay, this is going to be version 0.2. These don't have to be linked, they just are because I started doing the docs at the same time. But I could say NL dates is now going to be, say, 0.3. I've bumped the version, or it could be 1.0. This would just be whatever is in my pyproject.toml. Publish it, and then what I do is I would, so I come over here and do Tessl tile publish docs, and just whatever updates I'd made. You could, again, run this command in CI. And then over here, what I would do is I'd say Tessl tile update, and that will look through for new versions. In this case, it wouldn't do anything because I haven't updated the package. So first I'd do uv pip install, update the package, and then when I run sync, it would update. We're at time, so I'll end here, but I promise it would totally work.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.